Hey there, Chris Wheatley here from Hot Tub University, and today we're going to have a little discussion about rating sites and discussion forums, and all the tools that you have as a consumer to go out and try and make an informed decision, on what you're going to buy. I got to admit, I was a big part of discussion forums for a long time, and one of my reasons for starting Hot Tub University was my frustration with discussion forums. And let's talk about discussion forums first. So what happens there is these are guys that are retailing hot tubs or making hot tubs or selling hot tubs. And these hot tub experts, in a lot of cases, are really nothing more than the sales guys or business owners that are regurgitating the pitch of the manufacturer. And they're doing it in a discussion forum and trying to make it sound like it's informed advice. You got to understand that everybody on those discussion forums has a bias. And they have a bias because they're making money from selling that particular brand of hot tubs in their local marketplace. And the reality is, most of the stuff that you're going to get on these discussion forums really is just regurgitation of a pitch. So how much value is there really there? Well, the truth is not a lot, because these things are super heavily controlled by a very small group of people. So the companies that are super good at marketing, building mid-grade spas and wrapping them in fancy branding, this is part of their business, man. These guys are smart, and this is what they're doing. They understand that by controlling what's said on discussion forums, they're going to sell more hot tubs. Simple as that. So, they're making sure that their dealers are prevalent on there. So whenever you post something about brand X, everybody's like, yeah, brand X, it's awesome. It's the best thing in the world. And some of those people will be, experts, which again are going to be industry people with a bias. Some of those people are going to be customers, a very few. And some of those people are going to be fake customers. So how much value really are they? And the truth is, they're a very limited value if you're just going to go on there and post and say, hey, I'm Dave from Washington, and I'm looking at this brand, and this brand. What brand should I buy? Because you're going to find that a lot of people are just going to tell you to buy a brand. And really, you might as well just go around to the stores, because all they're really doing is trying to encourage you to buy that particular brand. Now, there's another thing that goes on here that's a lot more nefarious. There are a lot of companies that do expos or tent sales or truckload sales, and they're all classed as out of market events. So these are people that are going into a marketplace. They could be hundreds of miles from where they do business, and they're bringing truckloads of hot tubs, and they're bringing super good closer sales guys. Like, don't drink the Kool-Aid here. These aren't the guys from the factory. I'm just here to help you. These guys make a living traveling around the country and selling hot tubs at these events. Now, I'm not going to get into whether the events are a great thing or a bad thing. The truth of the matter is, some of them are great, some of them are nightmares. But what I'm going to get into is what this causes. So we walk into a city, and I come in with my trucks, and I fill up a Coliseum with hot tubs, and I bring in 10 sales guys that are just sharks. These guys know how to close. And what I do is I dump 40 or 50 or 60 or 100 spas in a local market. So we might be talking about $1 million worth of hot tubs in a weekend. And that's not unreasonable numbers. Believe me, the guys are doing more than that in some cases. What is the effect on that local market? The local companies, those dealers, those guys on the ground that have those stores that have been working those local markets for years, when these guys come into their marketplace and decimate them, and literally there'll be no sales in that market for 2 months or 6 weeks after these events, because they do a lot of damage. They sell a lot of hot tubs. These guys are furious. They see this as an unfair advantage. They see this as, somebody interloping into their marketplace, their local place where their kids go to school, where they've developed these businesses, and they don't take it lying down. And this is part of the reason why the discussion forums and the rating sites are useless. In fact, they're more than useless. They're misleading, and they're full of misinformation. Because these super angry dealers, I tell you right now, loads of them are creating fake accounts, and it's easy to do. You go on, get a VPN, create an email account on Yahoo or Google or whoever you want to, create an account on Yelp or whatever rating site you want to do, or create another username on one of these discussion forums. All of a sudden, one little local guy can be saying a whole bunch of bad things about a company that's doing these events, and it's really not an accurate reflection of if that company's good. So for instance, you'll notice Master Spas, which is one of the brands I've always endorsed, and they spend the money on the tub, they make a good tub. But man, you go online, they're Satan. Everybody is united against Master Spas. Is it because Master Spas is a horrible company, makes terrible spas? No. It's because Master's the biggest group doing expo events. So it's a cumulative effect. All these super pissed off dealers that are just furious because Master Spas is putting them out of business in a lot of cases, or at least stealing tons of money out of their pockets. They're furious, they're mad, they're angry, and how they can hit back at a company like that is through the discussion forums and through the things. Now, when I say that they're useless, they're actually not, because if you forget what's being pitched, in other words, forget the pitches where Joe Blow goes, well, I'm in this town and I'm looking at these tubs, what's the best one? And look at the other side of the discussion forums. You go into the discussion forums and start looking at who's looking for advice to fix broken tubs that are failing in the field. So you go on there and you got a guy that says, hey, help me, my I got a low flow error. Hey, help me, my tub's leaking. Hey, help me. Start charting out which brand people are asking for. Because if you want a really good snapshot of what's out in the marketplace, working or not working, fine. Look, that data's raw. It's unbiased. There's nobody controlling that. Now, from this day forward, by the way, guys are going to start to control that, because all of a sudden I've put this up here and people are going to go, oh, geez. And the marketing guys are going, shit, we never thought about that. And they're going to jump on these sites and they're going to start going, help me, I got a problem with this tub, which is going to skew these numbers. But the nice thing is these forums go back years and years and years, and you can look at data snapshots by just going to page 500. So this is done, today is, it's the 16th of November, 2017. So prior to this date, if you start looking, and I've done this, so I took 10 days on two of the biggest discussion forums, and that encompassed about 500 posts. Of those 500 posts, I think there was 120 or 130 that were requests for help for their tubs. Now, if I go in these discussion forums and I ask, hey, what's best, Hot Springs, a jacuzzi, or a Master? So these are your three biggest companies. Watkins, which is Hot Springs, Tiger River, Hotspot, Limelight. There's a whole bunch of them. And then there's the group that's Jacuzzi, which is, I can't remember the parent company, but it's Jacuzzi, it's Dimension One, it's Sundance, and recently possibly Endless Pools. Anyway. And then you look at Master, and Master again is Twilight Spas and Healthy Living and Legacy Spas and Clarity Spas and Michael Phelps Legends and a couple other brands. So I started charting them and I started looking, who is asking for help fixing the tub? Well, man. So I post up and I go, hey, should I buy a Master? Should I buy a Hot Springs, or should I buy a Jacuzzi? And everyone's going to go, buy a Jacuzzi. Buy a Hot Springs. They're great. Stay away from Master. They're fine. They're a nightmare. Then I go and I look through these 500 posts, and guess what? 34% on the first 10 pages of the two sites I looked at, and this was done about 3-4 days ago, 34% of those people were asking for help fixing Hot Springs spas. Simple as that. Those spas were failing in the field, and those customers were having to go to a discussion forum to find out how to fix them. 20-something% were Jacuzzi group of companies and the Hot Springs group of companies. So, man, these two brands that are all about marketing and are all about, the spin and the brand that they're going to wrap this lovely thing in and the blah, blah, blah. These guys are the companies that most people are having hard times with, or most people are requesting information to help fix their tubs that are failing in the field. And Master Spas, who everybody will say, oh yeah, what are you talking about? Don't buy a Master, it's a nightmare. Zero. There was 0%. There wasn't a single person asking for help with a Master brand. We then went, I think I went 200 pages back or 180 pages back and did a similar thing. And again, the numbers were similar. And then I went pile back before that. And again, the numbers were similar. So you got to be very careful. Looking at a rating site to try and make your decision, forget it. Forbes just did a big thing about Amazon and all their fake reviews. And if you look online, man, it's a huge issue. You just Google fake reviews and you're going to read article after article after article that is really going to tell you that a lot of the stuff out there, and some of the people are saying as much as 50% of the ratings on rating sites are fake. It might not be that high, but it might be 20%. But you know what? It doesn't have to be that many, because when you're dealing with, maybe 100 reviews on something and 20 of them are zeros or 1 stars, it's heavily skewing the data, heavily. So don't, look at this stuff with a grain of salt. And if you're going to go to the discussion forums and ask the question, expect pitches, because all the people on the discussion forums have bias and they are putting out a pitch. But go to the same forums and look at the hard data. Look at the customers that are looking for assistance. That will give you a really good snapshot of what is working in the industry and what is not working in the industry. And guess what? What I've been seeing for decades, Artesians, Marquis, Masters, these guys that are building tubs the way they should be built, hand rolling the shells, using a good parts list, gluing and clamping the plumbing, filling the cavity with insulation. These guys aren't so good at the branding. They're not so good at the marketing. They're decent at it, but it's not their thing. Those guys are getting very few requests on the forums for help for their products, because those products are in the marketplace and they're working reliably. And this is what the spin masters don't want you to do. They would rather you just suck up the marketing. So I guess my big thing with this is you can't weight it too highly. The problem with the internet and the information age is, there's information everywhere, but man, so much of it is just fake. It's just unreliable. And, I'll tell you, I could jump on right now and I could open up 10 new email accounts using a VPN, and then I could create myself 10 new users on all of those discussion forums. Or I could hire 10 university students and maybe pay $400 a month, which is nothing for a businessman to spend $400 a month on some marketing. And I could instruct those people to join those discussion forums and to create 1 or 2 or 3 usernames each, and pay them $40 a month to post every week. And every time brand X come up, I want you to go, yay, brand X! And every time brand B comes up, I want you to go, oh God, stay away from brand B. My mom bought a brand B and it was a piece of shit. So you got to understand that one person, one guy with limited technical, internet know-how, could heavily skew all of the data on all of the rating sites and all of the discussion forums. And it wouldn't be rocket science. And if you don't think it's happening, you're an ostrich with your head in the sand, because it happens. And I'm not just talking about the hot tub industry. It's happening on every industry, because it is affecting millions and millions and millions of dollars. And as soon as you put millions of dollars onto the table, there are people that are going to manipulate that system. So, my 2 cents worth. You're looking at rating sites, you're looking at discussion forums, understand that a lot of that information is simply bullshit. A lot of that information is simply spin and marketing. It's just a regurgitation of the manufacturer's pitch. The experts on discussion forums, because a guy's done 1,000 posts, does not make him an expert. It means that he's really good at regurgitating the pitch of the brand he's selling. It doesn't mean that he really has a grasp or an understanding of the many, many nuances that really make a great hot tub. It's self-serving and it's biased. So, Chris from Hot Tub University, have a great day, and we'll talk to you next week.